Okay, students, welcome to video number 3 for your characterization essay on the Forrest Gump paper. Previously, there were two other videos. The first video was on how to write your introduction paragraph, and your second video was how to write your body paragraph 1. And both those videos should have been completed. So you should be done with your first body paragraph. You should be at least on your second body paragraph. Now, in this case, I don't need to go into much more detail because you're going to basically do the second and your third body paragraphs the same way that you did your first body paragraph. It's basically just a wash, rinse, and repeat of what you've been doing already. But I'm going to give you a little bit of tips on how to begin some of these body paragraphs. And then eventually we'll get to your conclusion and putting the essay all together. Now, if you are not on your second body paragraph, if these parts above are not filled in, your first body paragraph and your introduction, then you are on the wrong video. You want to go back and watch the previous two videos first. Right? You should be on this part now. Okay, so like always, you're going to need two documents open. You're going to need this outline open, the sample, your characterization essay outline, as well as your note-taking chart that you had for the film, just like you've had in the past. Okay, so your first body paragraph, we go back up to the first one, should have been all about the physical attributes, the physical traits that made your character who they were in terms of characterization. Okay? You were focusing just on giving examples of the physical attributes. Okay? So your second body paragraph should be focusing on the emotional traits of your character. So again, if I go back to my notes here, I'm going to scroll down. So the first body paragraph was all about these physical traits, right? Your second body paragraph is about the emotional traits. Now, once again, I don't have a complete chart here because I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just trying to give you some examples. You should have a complete chart filled. Right? So I'm going to go back to here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to write a topic sentence to open up my second body paragraph. So how would I do that? Well, if I go back up to my first body paragraph, I noticed that I started off my first body paragraph by saying one of the primary traits that makes Lieutenant Dan Taylor a complex character in the film is his physical attributes, right? So I can just take that same kind of wording almost and just repeat it for my next body paragraph. But it's going to be a little bit of a transition. So I can say another trait that makes Lieutenant Dan Taylor a complex character in the film is his emotional attributes, right? Because remember, it is again, it's gonna say that there's some errors here, but that's fine. You just ignore that. Again, because this paragraph's all about emotional attributes, right? The emotional traits that a character possesses, right? Or you can word this any way you want, but as long as you have emotional traits or emotional attributes somewhere here, then you know what this paragraph is going to be about. So once again, you're just going to go back to your chart and you're going to talk about your different emotional traits. So one of the traits I have for Lieutenant Dan is that he's very bitter for the majority of the film, at least the beginning of the film. So I can say one emotion that Lieutenant Dan depicts throughout the majority of the film is that he is often bitter about his life and his current state. I'm saying that he's bitter, right? Oops, my bad. I don't know why that did that. One emotion that Lieutenant Dan depicts. There we go. Throughout the majority of this film is that he is very bitter. I'm saying ignore this wrong. Okay. So I've now said that he's bitter, right? So now I need to give some evidence to support the fact that he's bitter. So I go back over to my chart here. Now I can give some examples from the story that show that he's bitter. I can talk about how he acts towards Forrest and the things that he calls him. But Mr. Gasaway, I love quotes. So I went and found this quote that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this quote. I'm going to come back over to this chart and I'm going to write down, I'm going to introduce it. Lieutenant Dan tells Forrest when he first sees him again in New York And I'm going to put my quote in. All right. And then once again, you see I got some font changes here, so I need to change this all up. Make sure this is all the same. I'm going to get rid of the highlighting here. I'm going to get rid of the bold. I'm going to make sure it's all Arial, and I'm going to make sure it's all 12-point font. There we go. All right. Make sure this is all 12 here. Awesome. So again, uh, I have a quote here now. It says, Lieutenant Dan tells Forrest when he first sees him again in New York, they gave you an imbecile, a moron who goes on television and makes a fool out of himself in front of the whole damn country, the Congressional Medal of Honor. So you can tell he's very bitter in this moment, right? So why does this matter? I can then go, as always, I want to kind of go into detail explaining my own commentary about what makes this part important. Lieutenant Dan clearly is upset that Forrest has earned one of the highest medals a soldier can receive. He explains this. Again, we get rid of this. He lashes out against Forrest using some very derogatory language. So I have some ideas put down there, but again, I want to elaborate a little bit more. Again, this is I've talked about that it shows bitterness, but why is this being bitter important? However, after staying with Forrest for some time during the holidays in New York, Lieutenant Dan starts to become less bitter and actually begins to value his friendship with Forrest. Okay, so we're starting to see a change in his character, right? He's starting to lose that bitterness, and we see that further on in the film, obviously, as we go further. And I can even talk about that a little bit more if I want to. If I wanted to add one more sentence, I could. I could say by the end of the film, Lieutenant Dan is thankful for Forrest saving his life, and he is no longer a bitter character. It all matters how much commentary you want to add. But again, notice this is all commentary talking about why this emotion of bitter matters, right? So that's one example. So then, of course, I would then give a second. I would say another emotion that Lieutenant Dan depicts in the film is, and then I would obviously go back to my list and state my second emotion, but I don't have one here because I'm not using one, right? And then I would just go through this whole process again, give an example, give evidence, and give my commentary. So I can give another example, another emotion, give more evidence, and give commentary. Then I would give a third example, give some evidence, and give commentary. And then I would be done with that paragraph. Of course, I'd want a closing sentence as well. And then once I finish that paragraph, then I'm ready to move on to my third body paragraph. And that third body paragraph is one where I'm going to focus on the psychological traits, right? So again, I would say something along the lines of, a third important trait of Lieutenant Dan is his psychological attributes. Right? Something like that. I mean, again, it all depends on how you want to write these body paragraphs. So again, I'm just giving you ideas and where you can go with this essay. Right. So again, you're just doing what you did in the first body paragraph. Only your second body paragraph is going to focus on emotions, and then your third body paragraph is going to focus on psychological traits. And then that should take you all the way to your conclusion. And then we'll talk about your conclusion and putting it all together in a final video that I will give it to you on the next class day. Okay? So that is it. So what you want to do right now is you want to go back and again, if you need to rewatch this video, you can. If you need to stop certain parts, you can. But go back and outline your body paragraph 2 for emotions, and outline your body paragraph 3 for your psychological traits. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And of course, this video is here for you to rewatch, and you can follow along and do what I did as you are writing these body paragraphs. Okay, good luck, and I hope you do well. Ask me if you have any questions.